Hello guys, this is BigFish, and today I want to tell you guys a bit of a story. So the story will be pretty much about my real life and an experience that I once had living abroad. So the story will begin when I was living at Taiwan. This actually happened quite some time ago. When I was in Taiwan, I had a lot of Japanese friends for some reason, because like a lot of Japanese people really like going to like Taiwan. And I'll be honest with you guys, living in Taiwan, especially if you're like a foreigner, like I mean, you guys know I'm not from Taiwan, right? It's actually a lot better than you guys might think. Like the living cost there was incredibly cheap. Like drinks, especially alcohol, is very cheap there as well. And one thing I like the most about Taiwan is the fact that there's so many beautiful women in Taiwan. Like this, you have no difficulty like meeting beautiful women in Taiwan. In fact, there's actually a lot of them. And when I was in Taiwan, I learned a lot of things. Like a lot of my friends were also from like abroad as well. They used to tell me a lot of their funny stories from back where they came from. Like back then, my best friends were actually one Taiwanese, and like we got two French guys, Antoine and Jory, and also like other people from all over the world. I think when I was there, my two best friends were definitely like Antoine and a Taiwanese guy named Nelson. So what this Taiwanese guy named Nelson will always tell me is, well, yeah, he always tell me this one particular thing. Like if you're from Taiwan, people will not really appreciate you as much because you're like a local. But if you're actually from abroad and you go to Taiwan, people tend to really respect you a lot because they want you to have a good impression over their own country. And so things really escalate quickly as if you're from like abroad and you're a foreigner. So this just shows just how much the country itself really welcomes like new people in their country, and they just really want to advertise their like tourism, you know. And when I was there, I learned a lot of valuable life lessons, especially like since at the time my reason for going to Taiwan is actually to study about Chinese. Because unfortunately, although I'm Chinese, I don't speak Chinese very well. And so my amma, which is my grandma, would tell me, you know what, yeah, you're going to Taiwan. And I said, I don't want to. Because at the time I was really skeptical about learning Chinese. I was like, you know what, I think my broken Chinese is pretty okay. I mean, like, it seems to work fine in Singapore, and I thought that it would be perfectly fine. But it wasn't. Because we were indulging in more towards business, and we needed to actually learn proper Chinese to sort of communicate with people from China and from Taiwan, which are actually two of our biggest customers. And because of that, I had to ended up, you know what, if you don't go to Taiwan, I won't let you inherit my the company. When she said this to me, I was like, oh my god, holy shit. Okay, I'll go there, and I have no other choice, right? So that's what happens. And then I went to Taiwan, and well, when I was there, I got a couple of Japanese friends who often tell me about this very Japanese thing, which I found out actually a lot earlier. Like in Japan, there's actually people who pay, like there are women who pays men to actually like accompany them to eat dinner or something. And like this is not like what you think. It's not like a gigolo or like anything. No, they just pay young men. So what they call it there is basically sugar sister. So what's happening is they just pay people, random people, to spend time in their house, acting as their brother. And so it sounds like, oh, okay, so Japanese people are just really lonely and like all that, but it actually indulges much further once you actually understand what the business is all about. So this business of like sugar sisters is actually very crazy. Like you can think about like, oh my god, so a girl is paying me to go and act as her brother. That's cool. But actually, this is actually just a front. So all of this is a charade. All of them is fake, and what it actually is on like a deep margin is basically men being paid by older women to go to your house acting as like their brothers, but actually is to indulge in the women's sexual like kinks. And I've gone through like a lot of different conversation with a friend of mine. His name is Hiroshi, and he will tell me a lot of his stories, because unfortunately he was actually one of them. He was one of these people who are being called to sort of he was one of those call guys. And so he told me, so what do you end up having to go through in this experience? And he told me, like, you know what, when I was there, like I've had girls who wants to chain my hands together to her post, and what she would do to me is she would like cut me like small nicks all over my neck, and she would bite me all over my body until it bleeds. And I'm like, what the hell is going on, man? Like that is so messed up. And like he told me, yeah, it is messed up. But then what do you do it? Because it pays well. So I guess we can sort of conclude that a lot of Japanese women are really bored and really lonely. And if you're a healthy man and you want to enter and you kind of want to indulge in a lot more explicit things, I think Japan is going to be a very good place for you, especially if you're sexually frustrated and you actually have a high libido and you kind of want to fuck a lot. Like, Japanese women are more than likely to be interested in that. The problem with Japan has always been the same as what he told me. Like Japan's women are actually very horny, and the problem isn't with the women, but actually with the men, because the men don't want to fuck their women. So what's going on is, like, basically, like, the men would just go to work, and that's what they do. They rarely come home, and even if they come home, they'll just sleep. So the women doesn't get fucked. And if you're a woman in Japan, more often than not, you would get really like sexually frustrated. So in the end, you will like end up with like paying for such services from like men, which is actually kind of messed up in my honest opinion. And well, if that's out of the way, this second thing I want to talk about is actually something that Antoine used to told me a lot. He told me like back in France, he would tell me with like his like really deep French accent, like back in France, you know, there is something that we all just talk about, you know, like we are men, and like we like to talk about our sexual stuff, you know, and like when we talk about women, you know, like people are so funny, you know, like you know what, back then there's something called the post-nut clarity. And then like back then we also have an Indian friend. His name is Rajesh. He's like always so like he's always like on the same page with like Antoine, because they live in the same area. So he's like French, but he's actually Indian. And he would say like, back then there is something called post-nut clarity, man. And I was like, what the fuck? Post-nut clarity? Like, yes, post-nut clarity. It's actually a real thing, man. And I'm like, wait, what? Yeah, it's a real thing. What going on is, sometimes if you want to think about something very important, it's better for you to take a fap. And like, so you want me to masturbate? And like, yes, but you do you know that time when after you came, suddenly your whole mind turned open and like you just become 1,000 times smarter? And like, I'm like, no. And like, it's because you're not looking properly. And like, I'm like, so what is this post-nut clarity? This post-nut clarity is this magical time when after you came, your hormones in your body that always think about sex is gone completely. And when during this period that lasts probably less than 2 minutes, you will have full focus. You were able to get into the zone and focus and excel in everything you do. So before you want to make a good life decision, it is a lot better for you to take a wank off, to fap first and masturbate. And once you get your cum out, that is the time when your brain starts functioning properly. So what he's saying is, like since we're men, and well, not just men, like we are biological creatures, we are always constantly thinking about like reproduction and sex and like all that. And after you finish, like after you came, like you would always like have this moment when you're just not horny anymore. And this is actually that time when you would start thinking properly. And this is what he emphasized on, and this is something called post-nut clarity. So this is just something that has been recently just really popular. Give me a second. And what's going on is, like, people just talking about this a year prior to like the time that I'm uploading this video. But actually, to French people, this has been going on for a long time, and that people, especially in the US, are just really late in terms of talking about this. So it's actually kind of funny if you think about it. Post-nut clarity. So yeah, apparently in France, like people there are a lot more like, I think sexual liberation there. They're just so open about everything there, which is actually quite nice. When I used to stay in France for a while, and it was a very it's a very mind-opening experience. Like, living in France has always been one of my dreams, actually, and I managed to stay there for quite a while. That on itself is a good experience by itself, and I'll probably tell that on a different story. But on this one, we'll just be talking about the ones that I experienced back in Taiwan. And so to wrap up the story, I just want to tell you guys that living in Taiwan has always been one of my happiest moments. I've been like clubbing there, I've been drinking there, I've been having fun there, if you get what I mean. Cuckoo. And so living in Taiwan is not just culturally fun, but like the majority of the people there are just really friendly. And one thing I think I can give you guys a couple advice when it comes to if you guys want to start living in Taiwan and something. The pros of living in Taiwan is pretty much good life, like good life standards. Like, people there live very good lives. Like, they make very enough money. Their minimum wage is quite high. The cost of living is not very expensive, depending on what kind of lifestyle that you choose. If you want to drink, if you guys want to fuck, yeah, that's a very open thing there, which is quite a surprise, coming that it's a very Chinese, very Asian, Chinese-ish country. But I think over the years, due to Taiwan being more exposed to like the internet and like all that, people there tend to be more open-minded, and you'll find a lot of these things, like a lot of meetings for a lot of different like foreigners. You can check out like an app, it's called Meetup, and you can actually like download that app, and you can search for like foreigner meetups, and you'll find like people from all over the world are coming there to meet up and talk. They usually use English, so you guys will probably understand what they're saying. But one of the things that I think is the best part about Taiwan is the fact that being in Taiwan is gonna be a very mind-opening experience. Like, it's a very fun country. It's so culturally like diverse, and you'll find so many different aspects of different countries in one place. Like, if you go to Taiwan, if you actually go to a lot more like on the mountainous areas, you'll actually find places like if you went to Maokong, it's actually one of those areas that shows a very beautiful landscape that you can walk through and like all that. There are also like a lot of Japanese inspired like places, like the Cat Village. Like, it's just something that you guys need to experience on yourself. Like, I can't really explain what it felt like, but one thing for sure is, if you guys want to live in Taiwan, if you guys want to like travel to Taiwan, it's gonna be very, very fun, especially if you have money. Like, Taiwan is a very, very fun place if you have a lot of money to spare for yourself. I would say, like, on most cases, if you bring like maybe $2,000, would really give you a good time there for maybe a week or like a month for like tourism. But if you're staying there, I think that that is a bit too much. I'd probably say like $2,000 a month is gonna be more than enough for you to live a pretty okay life in Taiwan. I think aside from that, I'm just gonna wrap up with the video and probably share some more stories with you guys regarding my traveling all over the world. And yeah, look forward to the next one. Why is my character flying? Is this like, have I tapped into a different kind of power or something? Like, what the heck? Okay. See you guys.